Rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Okay, this is Matt Eskey, director of the Mojo Manifesto, and this is my buddy Mojo Nixon.
Wait, aren't you supposed to do this at some point? Come on now. Wait,
Nah.
are you not doing that anymore? Everything's synced?
Everything's synced.
Or you don't have a separate recorder, it's all one deal?
So I've got to ask, Mojo, why'd you let this guy start filming you? What the hell was going on?
You know, originally I had a whole bunch of tapes. I had two huge boxes of videotapes of me and Skid and me and the Toad Lickers on every kind of, local TV show, public access shows. They were just starting in the 80s when we did. And he shows up at my house with a camera he bought, or somebody bought for him for, that thing like $10,000?
Like $5,000.
Yeah. He didn't know anything about lights or camera. The camera was still in the box. And he says, I'm gonna film you, and I'm gonna film all our friends, all the Mojo acolytes, and we're gonna make a documentary. And I said, fine. And I said, look, you do whatever you want. I got three requests. Make it funny, make it so that the fans will like it. Right. So if you're a real Mojo fan, you walk out of there going, shit, man, that was good. And don't make it too long. Hey, one of my favorite movies is the Wolfman from 1941. It's not even 87 minutes. It's like 77 minutes. That's about a good length.
So I've got to ask, time-wise, this is 2011, 2012. Speed us up to 2019 when you kind of take this into another level and you actually start molding this in and folding it in. Because other than that, I mean, there's a lot of time. You're getting a lot of footage. When did you compile this and figure this out?
Yes.
And get it to the length where he wasn't going to be upset it's too long.
Right. So I started filming in 2012, got the idea in 2011, and then for the years after that, I kept doing interviews and acquiring footage from people, archival stuff, and then I kind of shelved it for a couple of years because I just didn't have time to get into editing it, and I didn't feel like
5 years really.
5 years. I didn't feel like I could hand it over to anybody to edit because it's such a weird story, and it would be almost too hard to explain to an editor how to do it. I tried to. I said, I got money. We'll hire Robert Gordon from Memphis somebody like that to edit it. But no, he wouldn't do it. Yeah, it just didn't seem like I could do it that way. Like I needed to do it myself. So I waited until I had a window of time to do it. So that was 2019, and I just took a year and learned.
You're leaving out the best part.
What's the best part?
He goes online and Googles, how do you edit a movie?
Yeah. Well, I did start at the beginning. Yes.
He goes online and it's how do you Google a movie? I mean, how do you edit a movie on Google? And then it says, there's all these programs you can use, and Apple's got a whole thing, and then
so I ended up using Adobe Premiere. I was like, what's the best software to use and all this stuff. And I worked as a graphic designer, so I had some basis in how to use computer design programs. But so I ended up using Premiere, and I just learned Premiere with YouTube videos, and started that way. And it took me a year to learn how to edit and to edit the movie, and worked great though.
I'm curious then, knowing that it's bassist in your band. Could you have allowed someone in to do what he was doing? Would it have been weird if you had a film crew with you, or would you have been okay with that?
Well, I might have thought, I didn't interfere at all with what he did because we were in the van together for 10 years. We know more about each other than our wives or ex-wives know. So I trusted him completely to capture the mojosity, the essence of Mojo. And so had I hired somebody, I would have been tempted to go, well, let me see the cut. Right, but I didn't. I literally didn't see anything. What I said was, I work at Sirius XM on Outlaw Country, and we did a cruise, and they wanted to show part of the movie on the cruise. I told him he couldn't go on the cruise till he had a 20-minute reel. Well, he had like a fucking 40-minute reel, and it was really good. People were like, hey, this is like, because the expectations are it's a Mojo Nixon documentary. It's going to be all fucked up, and it's directed by his bass player. Well, this is going to be dumber than a box of Hot Rocks. But no, people liked it. People who even just saw the 40-minute version. There were people on the cruise crying after seeing it. I'm like, man, this is out of control.
How much footage did you have to go through? I mean, because there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Mojo's been messing around for decades now.
No, we kind of got lucky because, he came up in the 80s. He got popular in the 80s when people had video cameras, So there was a lot of stuff. And he was like at that level of popularity that people were actually filming him. So there was a lot of old stuff, So, yeah, I had tons of stuff to go through. And part of the thing is, they put that on me because I was procrastinating. It was such a huge job, it's hard to wrap your head around it. I think it happens to a lot of people trying to make movies, which is the job is too big to finish it. Like, you can't wrap your head around it. And so them telling me I had to do 20 minutes was really probably why it got made, because I was sort of forced to do, it's just like anything in life. You just do a little piece of it. You have to go step by step, and it's hard to wrap your head around the whole thing. So, yeah, but I had like a ton of stuff to go through, and eventually I went through it all, and I probably used like 2% of what I had.
Because we made videos, there's all the videos. I did the MTV spots. There's lots of live stuff. There was just, and luckily back in the 80s when we were touring, I would say, they said, you want to be on local cable access? So I'd say, sure, but send me a tape. And I literally had 2 huge boxes full of tapes.
Yeah, that's a big thing. You had a manager.
You got to format all of that and change it.
Yeah, to put it all into the
I did
machine.
a lot of conversion stuff, and a lot of the old beta tapes and weird sources. But it's no big deal.
And then there was other stuff like online. There was tons of things on. People just had YouTube. Mojo in San Francisco. July '87.
And I did it over such a long period of time that I was able to sort of chase people down for footage over such a long period. It's not like I tried to do the whole thing in a year. So like in 2015, I came across a huge amount of footage that I didn't even know existed. So if I had done it real fast, it would have been a different movie. But it was really good that it happened over 10 years.
Yeah, there was only one thing that I wished was that we had the tape. It's me and Dr. John playing a song live on MTV at Mardi Gras. Wow. There's a picture of it in Us magazine that my mom had. I found it, but I can't find the tape anywhere. But and that's another thing. When you do watch the movie, there was a lot of Mojo shit in there. It is very dense, It's like, man, there's a whole Mojo's life was really exciting. There's a whole lot going on.
Do you not think your life was exciting?
It wasn't that exciting. I do think my life was exciting, and I do think, and I truly believe that in hindsight, I performed. I shouldn't have been as big or as famous as I was. But I'm a bullshit artist. My art is not in the singing and the songwriting. My art is in telling the story and and being completely full of shit. I'm an entertainer, right? I'm an entertainer. I'm not a musician, and so I think that's all captured in the movie.
He's a pretty good guitarist, though. I wouldn't say he's a terrible musician.
He became a great guitarist. It's pretty weird.
Yeah, don't tell anybody. Yeah.
Well, speaking of stories and Mojo magic, Pete kind of alluded, I think it was Pete, alluded to the Don Henley actually stepping on stage with you back in, it must have been like 92.
That sounds right. 92, yeah.
At the Hole in the Wall in Austin.
In Austin, yeah.
Right across the street from University of Texas. And it was unbelievable. It's a tiny place. And the Hole in the Wall kind of had 2 rooms. There's a front room and a back room. There's only 50, maybe 100 people in the front room.
100 at most, yeah.
At most. And unfortunately, there's no pictures or videos of it. Somebody drew a cartoon of it in the Austin Chronicle once. But yeah, Don Henley got on stage and sang "Don Henley Must Die" with us. And that was the one time in my life I was flabbergasted. I was like Ralph Cramden. And I said something like, well, do you want to argue? You want to debate? You want to fist fight? He goes, I want to sing the song, especially the part about not getting, because he goes, Don Henley must die. Don't let him get back together with Glenn Fry. And at the time, they had tried to reunite. And Irving Azoff, their manager, had said, I'll give you each $1 million. And they both came out of the rehearsal saying, that motherfucker's not worth $1 million. I hate his guts. I want to kill him. Then later, I don't know, a couple of years later, it's $10 million. And everybody, it was all smoothed over.
Just out of zero.
Yeah.
Speaking of Austin, what does the Continental Club mean to you guys, and the amount of shows you guys have done there? I feel like there's life to everything in that, just from y'all's experience there. What does that mean to you? What does Austin mean to you? Just your feelings about that place in particular, because obviously San Diego is important, and there are other parts of the country, but Austin really loves Mojo Nixon.
Yeah, I mean, it's where he got the band in the first place. I mean, the band was based in Austin, and he was looking for a backing band, and that's where...
The Toad Lickers.
That's where the band lived. So that was kind of the beginning of that, right? You were friends with Joe Ely.
And I was... Steve, the guy that runs the Continental Club, is our buddy.
Yeah.
So he's been a Mojo supporter from the get-go. He married a friend of ours from San Diego. There's a whole bunch of crossbreeding, and so... Yeah, the Continental Club, and playing, for the last 20 years, we've been playing this party at South by Southwest. And before that, we played 8 million gigs there. And it's really, the Continental Club and Steve Wertheimer is the center of the roots scene in Austin that we were a part of. And so...
Which kind of connects to the roots scene in Southern California. That's kind of, those two kind of connect a little bit. And with New Orleans a little bit. There's only certain places where that stuff is really happening, so...
Right. Dave Alvin and Dale Watson, come together at the Continental Club, and it was a great place for us to play. And they made a real mistake. They stopped charging me for booze.
What was this? Like the mid-90s? What was this?
They stopped charging me, and things got out of hand. I had to make them start charging me again, because otherwise things get out of hand.
You brought up South by. What did having the film at South by, this must have been just one of the best parties ever. I mean, what did that mean to you guys getting it into there? I think originally you were plotting for it to be like a short, way back in the day for South by. Was that in initial plans?
The year of COVID.
It was supposed to be the COVID year. It was supposed to come 2020. So COVID happened right before it was going to premiere at South by Southwest 2020, I guess. And so then it didn't end up premiering until 2022, which turned out to be okay, because I did find a little bit of extra footage in that 2 years that I added. So I was okay with it, because now it feels like I got everything, But
right, the footage is Winona Ryder saying...
Oh, the MTV footage.
Yeah, playing...
the Winona footage, that's the stuff I couldn't find.
That was... MTV wouldn't play the Debbie Gibson video, but they did send Kurt Loder down there to do an interview about the making of the video.
And I couldn't find it. We talked about it in the movie, but I didn't have it. It was the one thing I didn't have. Almost everything else, I've got the proof of it, and that was the one thing I didn't have, and I found it in that 2 years. So.
Yeah, and Winona says it's the greatest role of her life, playing Debbie Gibson.
Yeah, she's so effusive. I mean, I couldn't even believe what she was saying, really, when I finally saw it.
It's such a cool scene, because she's in the dress.
Right.
It's so awesome.
Yeah. Me and her had been in that movie Great Balls of Fire. Where I played the drummer, and John Doe was in that movie, and Jimmy Vaughn and Dennis Quaid played Jerry Lee Lewis. That's how I knew her. That's how we...
Y'all got to hang out with the Lewis family as well.
Oh, yeah. Crazy, crazy and scary. The Faraday fireballs are all completely nut jobs. Linda Gale's still around. She still plays. When we made Great Balls of Fire, Linda Gale played in the office of maybe Memphis Magazine, and me and John Doe went, and it was like a hurricane. She was like she was in a very small room playing the piano, and it scared me. It scared Mojo.
To scare Mojo, I can't believe it. Y'all have played so many. I have an instrument question. Y'all have had so many different instruments with all the different players you've had. What is I think I know what this answer is, but what's the funkiest thing you've had to sing off of musically?
Meaning what? I mean,
just where you were like, this is crazy what we're doing. This is the type of music we're putting out there. Like, you guys have switched up the genre. You've added country tunes. You've added different instruments that other people haven't used in the genre. I mean, you guys have always kind of reinvented almost every decade. It feels like
making that album with Jello. We made an album with Jello Biafra from the Dead Kennedys. That was that was taxing. That was because he was used to being in charge, and I was used to being in charge, and it was me and Jello were friends, but man, that was we didn't work the same way. Jello thought making a record was kind of like an erector set. You move pieces around. I thought making a record is about the moment of creation. I thought it was more like a piece of clay, and you get the moment of creation, and if you get a good moment of creation, then you can add to it. But
what do you like about the Toad Lickers?
It's loud, it's fast, it's stupid. There's not many people, when we started out, we loved NRBQ and Joe Ely and the Blasters, and there's not many people playing straight ahead 3-chord rock and roll anymore. Right. And now we're the grizzled veterans who can play, Chuck Berry's, right, Rockpile, Nick Lowe, and Dave Edmunds. Those are the guys that we loved, and we aspire to be them. We're never going to be as great as Chuck Berry, but you're drunk, you're in a bar, it's Friday night, it's pretty good. Huh? Get a little close.
We want you to yell louder into the mic.
Yes.
There's no way that's not showing up. You're talking loud enough, I think.
You think so?
I've got to ask, as far as what's next for Mojo? You've never given up this moniker. I'm curious, what 10 years from now, what's Mojo doing?
Well, Mojo's dead 10 years from now. Here's what happens. The movie comes out, it gets on Netflix or Amazon, it gets a little traction, and there's somebody says, hey, we got to put Mojo on tour. There'll be an offer, hey, here's some money, we all play 10 shows, so us and the Toad Lickers will go out, and I'll die on a Tuesday night in Des Moines, Iowa, and I'll be in a motel room with a couple of hookers, and I think I'm snorting cocaine, but it's really borax, and that's when Mojo dies.
I want to ask other questions about that, but I won't. I've got to ask, though, as far as the fan base, knowing that the fans have stuck with you for so long, Mojo fans are insane as much as you are. They love you. They love all the guys around you. What has the fan base meant to you over this time?
No, I think I've always said this. I'm not really famous. I'm almost famous. People that like me really like me. And people who don't know about me are just like, why is the fat hillbilly yelling motherfucker so much? What, you think he's Richard Pryor? What's going on here? Right, so, right, people that like Mojo really like Mojo. And I think, and that was one of the ideas to me about the movie, we should reward them. We should give them the full thing. Right. They shouldn't walk away going, oh, Mojo's gone soft. They should walk away going, whoa!
Obviously, the world's gotten kind of PC. Do you think Mojo could have been created right now in this weird world of you can't say this, you can't say that?
That's one of the reasons I'm not on Twitter and I'm not on Facebook, because I have this job, this job that pays it serious, and I'm sure I would say my talent is saying something too quick and too much. I want to go too far too soon. And if we just on the way up here, we're listening to Chris Rock yesterday from whatever year that was, 96 or 98. You can't even do that anymore. Right, what Chris Rock was saying and the way he was, attacking all kinds of sacred cows, very few people can get away with it. So no, but I think there's always going to be somebody who says, you say I can't say that? Fuck you. I'm going to say it, right? And sometimes it'll be up front and sometimes it'll go back. But the voices of George Carlin and Richard Pryor and Chris Rock will, they'll come back around again, right? Because there's always going to be pretentious, self-satisfied motherfuckers who need to be knocked down a notch. Somebody, 2 weeks of TV of the Queen of England, fuck the Queen. What did the Queen ever do? The Queen can lick my hairy ball sack. She was born. She was born. Did she cure cancer? Did she end racism? How about childhood poverty? Fuck the Queen. Anyway, I'll be all right.
Thank you for that. Matt, is there anything you couldn't play? Anything you didn't want to show?
Anything I couldn't use. I mean, I can't tell a complete story, you know. I mean, there's some stuff left out, I guess, you know. But I don't feel like I had to like pull stuff out of there to not offend people or anything.
No, we want to offend people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's part of my job.
What's it like seeing like your family and seeing the people that have known you your whole life before you became Mojo? When you seeing the film, what were your feelings of that, seeing the people you love and know?
Well, my brother's a little upset he's not in it. My sister and my mother and my father are in it, but he's not in it. He goes, my brother's review was, that's pretty good. I said, where the hell am I?
Why'd you cut him?
Yeah, a lot of people got cut. I mean, I was really brutal with the cut. You know, if it didn't to help tell the story, I cut it. You know, so it's all part in like keeping it tight. And so a lot of people got
60
left.
or 80, you know, friends of Mojo or, you know, friends and family and acquaintances and business partners, they didn't get in. They all got filmed. And you talked when you talk about the Continental Club, a lot of those interviews, especially with Bullethead, the manager, and Wet Dog, a lot of those interviews are in the basement of the Continental Club while everybody's drunk upstairs. We're playing the Saturday party. So people were in a more, loose manner when they did the interviews. Yeah.
I think that's when Wet Dog explained the Don Henley thing.
Yeah, Wet Dogs. Yeah, I mean, so people were a little drunk, and we just got off stage and that kind of thing. So that turned out to be a great idea, you know, to get people in that moment so they're not like uptight in an interview set up. That turned out to be a really good idea, you know. And then a lot of the interviews I did myself, you know, like I didn't have a crew, you know, and I think that helped too, keep people at ease, you know. So it's just me and them, and it just more felt like a conversation, you know.
Are you filming at all now? Are you doing anything for like putting this movie out, any behind the scenes, anything that we could see in the future?
You know, I think we're going to do our last. I think it's probably going to show up in streaming like next South by Southwest, which will be the last Mojo Mayhem at South by Southwest. So we might do a little thing about, you know, a little mini doc about that whole thing. Yeah,
we're going to try to get the Waco Brothers, the Beach Farmers, NRBQ, and the Yahoos. These are four of my favorite bands to play at the last Mojo Mayhem. You know, it's a lot of old angry motherfuckers, in my opinion. But we're going to try to end it with a big blast and hand it over to somebody else. Let somebody else do it.
All these old motherfuckers are starting to, you know, go away. Is there anyone you miss having around? Any one of those old fuckers that you just wish they were still around popping with you guys?
Well, when we're going to go on the Outlaw Country West cruise here soon, and me and John Doe and Dave Alvin and Country Dick Montana did this thing, the Pleasure Barons, and we're going to recreate it on the cruise. And the one I miss is Country Dick. If Country Dick, well, here's what Bullethead says: if Country Dick was alive, Mojo would be dead, because I would be, you know, I'd want to try to outdrink and outdrug him and everything, you know. And but yes, if it would be great if Country Dick was alive, and when we did the Pleasure Barons on the cruise, instead of it being a tribute to him, he was there. Country Dick was my, you know, I call him my dementor, my demented mentor, and the other one is Jim Dickinson, the Memphis Madman, who produced a couple of my records, and you know, I always felt like was telling me the secret history of rock and roll. He was trying to pass on the the subtext to the whole thing. I think I used that word right.
No, you did. Yeah, because I think it's the Otis album that we're seeing with Jim. Were y'all recording that when? Right.
The movie opens with the recording of the Otis album in Memphis with Dickinson producing. Yeah,
Robert Gordon had filmed like a whole video press kit, but he never used it. And luckily, when he was cleaning out his shed, hey, here's some Mojo shit. I'll send it to fucking.
Wow, the Jim interview was just a find. Wow.
Yeah, that's 2015. So I didn't even think I was ever going to have that footage. So that showed up in 2015. Robert Gordon found all these tapes and sent them to me. So he owe him a big debt of gratitude.
Yeah, we had like a 2-minute reel, but he had 4 hours of stuff he had shot and got edited down.
Is there a favorite look you've had over the years? Like, that's me.
Now you're probably wondering why
these are these looks.
Yeah, I think you're probably wondering about this here Amish beard. I lost a bet. I lost a NASCAR bet, and the loser has to go to the race in Charlotte at the Roval and show up with an Amish beard. So that's what's going on.
I'm just trying to copy you, but I don't have
Same beard. That's what
to say much that. What can we expect tonight? What's going to happen at this show? Not the film. I know we care. I've seen the film. It's good. But I'm curious.
Have you seen the live show before?
No, not here, not at this location.
Okay,
I've seen it in Austin. But
yeah, the live show's a little bit. It's a little. I don't know.
Edgy. It's a little
edgier than
edgy as a motherfucker
than the records. So you'll expect something that's a little more over the top, probably.
Does it all just come to you, or are you thinking this shit before?
I was writing down some ideas. I got there's a whole rant about the Carolina-Kansas basketball connection. You know, Dean Smith was born in Kansas, went to Kansas, and then went to Carolina, and then Roy Williams was born in North Carolina, came to Kansas and coached. But what, you know, and then they have the team here, the Shockers. But what the Shockers and Kansas and Carolina can all agree on is fuck Duke and fuck Kentucky. You know, so I'll have the crowd chanting fuck this. So I think of these things like the day of the show. I'll go through, you know, and hopefully I'll find there'll be some local issue. Usually I can find some local thing to talk about, and I'll slip that in there within the rants, raves, and monologues.
What has Sirius meant to you as far as being a constant voice out there?
What it's really meant is I've never had a regular paycheck. It's unbelievable. Every 2 weeks, money shows up in the bank.
It's pretty much the only job he could have ever done.
Yes,
and they invented it at the right time.
Yes, they're all right. They're shocked. They're shocked there's a job I can do, and I've been doing it for 18 years. You would think some of the shit I said I'd have been fired, you know. And there's been a couple of near misses, but I, weaseled my way out, or, a lot of times people hear something and they hear, worse than what it is, and then you play the tape back, and the boss will go, well, that's nothing. And I go, yeah, that's just somebody who's oversensitive, looking to run Mojo down. But yeah, no, it's been great working there. My boss, Jeremy Tepper's a great guy, and little Steven, so I'm lucky they protect me. Stevie Van Zandt and Tepper, they let me do what I do, and I don't get, occasionally they go, tone it down a little bit, I'm not supposed to say, Patsy Cline so fine I'd suck her daddy's dick. So I stopped saying that. I still occasionally say,
yeah, you just said it.
Well, no, I'm talking about on serious. And then, but I do occasionally still say, George Jones sings so good, make your dick hard. Mojo Nixon, I love country. Say, cut the red light on, the monkey performs.
Who do you listen to now?
I listen to all the kind of alt country acts, that we play on Outlaw Country, because that's part of my job. But,
do you like all that?
Some of it, yeah. Some of it, there's plenty for me to like. But if I'm in the car, I'm listening to Bruce, or the Replacements, or the Pogues, or the Clash. That's about it.
What does Mojo Nixon drive?
I got a Ford Fusion, just a regular red Ford Fusion.
Shocking.
He's never been a car guy.
Yeah, I've always wanted a Volkswagen thing, but I've never, it's never worked out. I almost had one a couple times. Right, you would think I would have a Volkswagen thing, and
you're running out of time.
Yeah, I'm running out of time. Yeah, I got to get a new Ford. And my son was like, what about, you could get a German car or Japanese car? No. I'm sure other people can. I'm sure, it doesn't bother them at all. But I hold a grudge, and I'm getting an American car.
We'd give you a lot of shit if you drove a German car. I like kind of asking you, what are you watching on TV? What are you reading? What's Mojo doing these days?
I just watched Mindhunter on Netflix for like the third time. It's David Fincher. It's one of my favorite things. It's about the profiling of serial killers in the FBI unit. And in fact, BTK is from Wichita, which will be mentioned in the show tonight. And I also just watched True Detective again. That first season of True Detective is unbelievable. But I went and rewatched season 2. It's not nearly as bad as I thought it was at the time. But it's a little too complicated. Season 3 is really good, and I just heard on the grapevine that season 4 of True Detective is going to take place in New Orleans, and Jodie Foster is going to be in it. So yeah, I like that kind of thing. I like it dark, edgy, and psychotic. And also, I read a bunch of detective books, kind of mysteries and everything that flows from Raymond Chandler. I just finished a book at a hotel about a guy, who's a deputy down in Australia. Things went haywire. Things went all flippity-jibbing on him. I'm trying to remember. There's a guy. He's a Japanese American guy who's written a series of books that take place in Long Beach. What the hell is his name? Maybe like and he also wrote the reason I got onto him, he wrote kind of a modern version of Philip Marlowe, the Raymond Chandler detective. Wow. And but anyway, it's all good. I'm something of if I read one and like it, I order them all, read them all. I'm a completist. I read it until I get tired of them, and then move on to the next guy. I think his last name is spelled IDE, but it might be pronounced ED or ID. I never talked to him. There's another guy named Ace Atkins. Yeah. He lives in. He writes these kind of sheriff books in Mississippi, and he's also been writing the Robert Parker, Spencer books. Robert Parker died, but yeah, I read all those too. The Travis McGee, there's a whole series of kind of existential tough guy detective things. That's in the Mojo wheelhouse.
Mojo Noir Hour needs to happen. Good God, that sounds awesome. Matt, is there a concert, a moment that you always think of as like, that's the most kick-ass time we had with Mojo and with the Toad Liquors?
I'd probably call it the Liberty Lunch Show 1994 with Jello. So the one show we played with Jello is the one I remember probably the most. It was crazy packed, sold out, and just super crazy high.
People were outside crying. Because Jello didn't play. The Dead Kennedys were done. He didn't really play very much. So there was like a bunch of punk rockers outside. Yeah. We let a bunch of them in the back.
Yes, it was both crowds, and it was just kind of this crazy energy going on. And so, but
it was also those songs, those Jello songs. They're not the traditional, Hank Williams and Chuck Berry chord changes. I had a fucking headache. I had a headache so bad I couldn't do drugs. That's how I'd been thinking so hard. Drugs had no effect on me.
And then luckily, Bill Davis had a camera at the side of the stage. And so that's in the movie.
Bill Davis and Dash Rip Rock.
So that's the scene we see.
That's what you see, and that's the show I'm talking about. Yeah.
Well, and a little behind the scenes. That's the record version you hear in the audio, but since we just made the album, it syncs up perfectly.
Yeah, the sound was no good, so I was able to sync it up, and it's
that's pretty damn flawless. I thought that was live.
Yeah, the studio version is almost the same. It's like a rock and roll one take kind of version in the studio, so it lined up perfectly. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. Well, let's keep going with fun. What does Mojo Nixon like to eat? I'm just gonna ask the random things. Yeah.
Barbecue and snacks. Mojo likes a lot of snacks.
What's your go-to snack? I'm there too.
No one's ever called me gutless. Right? You can tell by looking at me, I'm pro eating. Yeah. So they on tour. I would buy extra snacks and put them in the glove compartment in case because I had an attack. A fainting spell or something. Yeah. I had some heart problems called
You had heart problems?
Yeah, I know. I had heart, but they fixed it. They did something called ablation. They fixed it. And I had to stop, I was eating, just awful stuff. This low salt diet. When I was in the hospital, they were giving me the low salt food. And I think my wife had brought me like a burrito or something, and there was one of those little tear open things of salt and pepper. Anyway, it had fallen under the bed. I crawled, after having near heart attack, crawled under the bed just to get a little salt. Just put a little salt on the food. This food tastes like cardboard. But I'm all better now. You want to comment on the snacks?
He likes beanie weenies. That's the one. You know beanie weenies?
Yeah, made by Van Camp.
That's probably the snack I associate.
Do you eat them cold or you heat them up?
Well, I usually eat them cold. My dad ate them cold. I eat them cold.
That's a man right there.
Wow. Loaf.
Oh yeah, pickle and pimento loaf.
Those are the two things I probably associate most with his snacking.
The pickle and pimento loaf is rapidly disappearing. You got to go down into the worst part of town to find the pickle and pimento loaf.
And he leaves this stuff at my house when he stays at my house, so then I have to immediately throw it away.
You don't eat it, the cats don't eat it, your kids don't eat it.
Would you want to do another tour? Like, would you guys want to go out in the thing, or do you like not having to be on tour like a crazy time?
Well, we wouldn't do like 20 shows, 25 shows in 30 days. But we might go out and play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We fly in, play 3 cities, fly back, especially if the movie has gained a little traction. So hopefully, Mojo fans will see the movie once it's available, on streaming or Amazon or Netflix, and they'll be, and then they'll tell other nuts, "Hey man, you got to see that Mojo movie. It's fucking great," and then there'll be, a couple of club owners who say, "Hey, y'all want to come around? We'll do it." But we can't. We couldn't do 5 shows in a row. I'd be dead.
Has Debbie Reynolds ever contacted you?
Oh, Debbie Gibson?
Yeah, Gibson. I don't know what. Has Debbie Reynolds also contacted you?
I think Debbie Gibson was, she was okay with it, right?
No.
She wasn't okay with it. I thought her record label was not.
No, Debbie was okay with it.
Yeah.
I talked to Debbie I was working in radio in Cincinnati, and we interviewed her. And she was all fine, but she goes, "My mother fucking hates you." Her mother is like a Long Island, she sounded like a Long Island gangster, and she got her mother on the phone, and the mother's like, "You tried to my daughter's a virgin." So yeah, but who I haven't, and also Don Henley got on stage and sang "Don Henley Must Die." Martha Quinn, never. I did some stuff with the original VJs from MTV. They're on Sirius. They're on like the 80s channel. Mark and those other guys, and they're all like, "Martha Quinn hates you." She wasn't coming to this thing anyway, but she really wasn't coming because you were going to be, because we did something together at something. Yeah. So I never talked to Martha Quinn. Stuffing Martha's muffin. Showbiz.
I think you and Debbie would have a cute kid. It might look good. Yeah. So to kind of wrap things up, I'm curious, as far as y'all's relationship, knowing what he's been able to capture and do with all your stuff, do you look at Matt any different? Matt, do you look at him any different? Now that you've seen so much footage and you've known the behind the scenes.
I didn't know the whole. I didn't really know the whole story, even being in the band, and so it was the stuff I wasn't there for. So I know more now. But no, we knew each other so well before. I knew the whole thing before I even started, in a way, So no, it hasn't changed much.
I am shocked that Earl Freedom, my bass player, made a good movie. I can't. He didn't know. He didn't go to film school. He didn't go to film. Somehow, it's exciting. It tells a story. It elicits people's emotions. It's unfucking believable. I couldn't have done it. I tell you that right now.
I don't know if there's a better way to stop it. I think that's the best selling point to the film. Gentlemen, I love the film. It was amazing to see all the crazy shit you've been involved in. But thank you guys for bringing it here, doing the concert. It's going to be a badass time, so thank you guys.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate it.